My, oh my, oh my. It has been a minute, hasn't it? Well, there's a couple reasons for that, where the world basically almost ended last year and E3 pretty much got canceled last year. And I also have had some personal shit going on, so I haven't been able to upload as many videos. But I am here now to do something a little different this year. First, I'm just going to give some audio commentary over this, one of the demos that stemmed from E3 that Microsoft put up, which is Tunic here. This game looks absolutely amazing. But yeah, I'm not going to sit here and bore people to tears with like 2 hours of notes from E3 like I'm doing the fucking 6 o'clock news or some shit, because, you know, the 3 people that watch this channel will probably get over it, but I digress. Seriously, I'm just going to go through and just do a quick video of highlights I saw over the past week of things that caught my eye, some ideas, and, you know, a couple things I want to get off my chest, but I might actually do that in a second video. So let me take a quick look here at my E3 notes. And, you know, it was a E3 overall. I'm not going to waste too much time. I'm just going to get into it. Like I said, just the highlights. First thing I watched, and I made a huge mistake by watching this, is I watched Devolver's digital presentation. I say it was a big mistake when I watched this first, because they absolutely killed it. I love watching these little parody conferences they do ever since they started doing them. I think they've been doing them for a few years now at least. And it was great. It was fun. It didn't take itself too seriously. It knew its audience better than I think some of the more mainstream conferences do. And best of all, it had some interesting games, and I shit you not, it did something that I thought was nigh impossible coming out of E3. It made moi actually pre-order a game. Honest to God, pre-order. The funds have been taken out of my credit card. It is ordered. It is done. I'm, of course, talking about the physical exclusive Demon Throttle for the Nintendo Switch. That is an absolutely fantastic trailer. Not only the way they presented it was no slouch either. All hail Nina Struthers, that's all I gotta say. But please go watch that trailer. I don't know if it's on Devolver's channel, or just make sure you watch the one that's just under a minute long. I think it's like 56, 57 seconds. And it's important you watch that one because it has one of the most amazing introduction sequences to a game I've ever seen. We're talking about a storyline that rivals Bad Dudes and its awesomeness. So please go watch that. It's absolutely amazing. As soon as I saw that video, basically as soon as I saw the intro, I just went right over to the website and I pre-ordered it. Of course, I had to get the one with the cardboard box in it, the one that was $10 extra with the reserve box, because why wouldn't you? When just the vanilla physical game, I guess, is $10 less. You might as well just spend $10 more if you're getting a reserve game at this point. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. I love the silliness of it. I love the premise of it, and I love like the retro aesthetic of it. It's even more like retro than, one of these like 8-bit, 16-bit like pixel indie games would look. It just nails like this Game Boy-esque look and sound. Like it's perfect. I can't wait to play it. I don't think it's coming out till next year, but I'm not in a huge hurry. I've got enough games to fucking play for the next 3 lifetimes, so it's really no big deal. Other stuff looked good on Devolver Digital's presentation. The one that really didn't do anything for me was that card game. I think it was one of the last things they showed. The name escapes me right at the moment, but everything else looks solid. I mean, I pre-ordered Demon Throttle, but I can see myself playing all of the other games at some point. So, hats off to them. Great video. And it was all downhill from there. Next, I made the mistake of watching the Gearbox quote-unquote presentation. That was a gigantic fucking waste of time. It's basically Randy Pitchford walking around the movie set for the new Borderlands being, well, Randy Pitchford. And, you know, talking to Eli Roth for 10 minutes about the movie and going to Kevin Hart's bus for another 5 or 10 minutes and, oh, hey, say hi to everyone, Kevin Hart. Like, oh, look at me, I'm Kevin Hart. And, okay, what the fuck does this have to do with video games? But, basically all I got out of the Gearbox presentation was that Homeworld 3 is in development. They had to tell us this 3 times, so great. Didn't show any footage of Homeworld 3 because it's very early in development, but it is being made and it will most likely be cool. That's pretty much all I have to say about Gearbox. It's pretty dumb overall. Let's see what else I have here. Oh, the Summer Game Fest block starring our good friend Jeff Keighley, aka the Doritos Pope. A couple highlights in here. Metal Slug Tactics was a very nice surprise, but the thing that kind of took the wind out of my sails with Metal Slug Tactics was, as far as from what I can see on the internet, is it's only going to be PC, at least for now. This game is begging for a Switch release. You know, I would love to see it on all consoles, Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, but at the very least, I hope it gets a Switch port. And it's kind of funny how, you know, it took this long for someone to think of Metal Slug Tactics. I mean, you know, it's kind of inherent in the, you know, like the Metal Slug mythos, if you want to call it that. It just seems like it'd make a natural transition to Tactics. I mean, they made a Gears of War Tactics. Why not a Metal Slug? Why not? I don't really see how it can be bad, but we'll see when it comes out. Salt and Sacrifice looks baller. Salt and Sanctuary looks really cool. I have it for Xbox. I haven't really played it, though. You know, pretty much 90% of my game collection can be summed up with, yeah, I bought it on sale because it sounded cool, but I haven't got around to playing it yet. That's pretty much most of my video game collection. It's pretty sad at this point. Tales of Arise, that looked cool. Oh, and I guess the one other thing I can talk about, there was this game, this Elden Ring or something, that the internet's like basically turned itself upside down and inside out over. I guess it looks kind of cool. Yeah, I mean, you might as well say that was the highlight of the conference, because it was. I mean, Elden Ring looks fantastic. We hardly heard anything about it the last time it was mentioned at E3. This time, we got our asses spoiled with not only some gameplay, but a release date. How about that shit? Looks great. Looks like Dark Souls with a horse. It looks like Dark Souls of the Wild. You know what I mean? Playing off of the Zelda game Breath of the Wild. So, you know, yeah, that game's gonna sell like hotcakes. I mean, every fan of the From games and the Soulsborne games and Miyazaki, that game's gonna sell very, very well. So, I mean, I don't see how it could be bad. We'll see when it comes out. A lot can happen between when a game is announced and when a game comes out, but hey, at least it made it farther than Scalebound, am I right? I'm totally not still broken up about Scalebound. Oh, that was a bummer. Moving on. Oh, God, I got to mention this real quick before I get into the heavy hitters here. First I'll do a little throwaway comment about the Future Game Show and the PC Game Show. They were snooze fests. I tried to watch the highlights of it, but I couldn't even make it all the way through. I mean, there was no games that were on there that people would immediately recognize if I said a name of, unless you're like really, really into indie games. Some stuff looks cool, but nothing really jumped out at me personally. But I gotta say something about this this fucking the Take-Two conference, if you even want to call it that. Like, I thought Gearbox was bad, but in Gearbox's defense, at least they showed some video games at E3. You know, the one thing people tune in to see. Take-Two had the 4D chess big brain fucking idea to hold a panel about diversity and whatever the fuck else they talked about. Yeah, I'm not gonna sit here and say, give a scorching hot take on how that is not an important thing in games, but you might want to schedule something like that that is not at E3, you know, the conference where gamers tune in to see the new video games. You know, you have all other year to talk about diversity and whatever, or you know, whatever else you talked about. Like, I tuned into this for maybe 2 minutes and I immediately noped the fuck out because, you know, I have precious little time in my life now as it is. Not saying that stuff is important again, but like, don't do it in a place where people are expecting to see video game footage of new games. Okay? Whoever scheduled that needs to be taken out back and flogged. I had to say something about that because that is one of the dumbest things I've ever seen at E3, and that's really saying something. All right, speaking of saying something, let's get into, I'll do a quick mention of Sonic Fan Fest. Only really thing that was noteworthy to me is Sonic Origins. It's cool to see Sonic 3 and Knuckles get re-released. It's like, since like, I think it was like 2009, these games have gotten, was the last like re-release they had. And I don't know if it was in their original form because Sonic 3 has had alterations with it every time it's gotten re-released, or sometimes when it's gotten re-released, because there's some like weird music licensing with it because Michael Jackson contributed to some of the songs or whatever. It's weird. But hopefully this is the proper like Sega Genesis version, the one that we all grew up with, and hopefully it comes out like intact the way it was. So it's cool to see that finally in a modern day Sonic compilation. And they're making a new Sonic game. Could be good, could be bad, whatever. That's really all I noticed about the Sonic spot. Capcom had a spot, but there was nothing really noteworthy about that. It's just a bunch of shit that people already knew about. Like, oh, Resident Evil 8's getting DLC. Oh, you don't fucking say? I would hope so. It sold well enough. Let's see, what else? Okay, now we can finally get into Ubisoft. Ubisoft was kinda there's two things that they showed and one thing that they didn't show, which I look forward to every year, but they're never gonna do it. To get a new Child of Light sequel or a prequel or a side story or something involving Child of Light, aka one of my favorite video games of all time, I think everyone responsible for Child of Light and pretty much any UbiArt game, they're probably gonna have to Patreon up at this point and crowdsource the frickin' thing. Because I read articles about how Child of Light 2 was going to be a prequel when they, I forget the director's name off the top of my head, but I was just rereading the article the other day too, but I'm so scatterbrained nowadays. The premise for Child of Light 2 was going to be a prequel where it followed the story of two friends, and they were both going to go off on their own separate paths, and you would have to kind of dictate the choices they make along their adventure. You know, if it came to blows where the next chapter in Child of Light, whatever it might be, had to be crowdsourced, I would contribute to that Patreon so fast, faster than you can say Aurora. Okay, man, I love Child of Light, and of course they didn't show one because it's not, you know, it's not one of their live service fucking generic open world games that they keep churning out year after year. Okay, God, I will say this though, they showed Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope, which that's going to be a great game. That's a given. Looks great. That was a nice surprise. Well, it would have been a bigger surprise if it didn't get leaked before the conference, but I digress. And they also showed Rival Riders, which is kind of interesting. At least it's interesting enough to me to sign up for the beta for it. So maybe I'll give it a little try, give it a test drive. See what I did there? Yeah, looks cool. I'll check it out. Probably won't buy it at release. We'll buy it on sale, like I do buy most games, but whatever. Especially Ubisoft games. Those games seem to go on sale faster than the speed of light at this point. You know, I would never buy a Ubisoft game on release unless you really, 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 really want to play it, or it's Child of Light. All right. I'm over it for now. Never fully over it, but we'll move on for now. So that was basically Ubisoft. Microsoft and Bethesda shared the stage for the first time this year. It was okay. I hope you PlayStation fans weren't super hyped for playing Starfield, because guess what, motherfuckers? Console exclusive. Now you guys know how we feel about stuff like Bloodborne and Ratchet and Clank and, you know, the 30 other exclusives you have. Well, we finally got one, so, you know, break out your fucking Kleenex tissues and cry over it. And, you know, we saved a spot on the couch for you that we've been at for years and years now. But of course, real gamers have every platform and play all games, like myself. So, yeah, Xbox, well, one and the same. Microsoft and Bethesda. Okay, let's rattle off these titles real quick. I put Stalker 2, Back 4 Blood, and Diablo 2 Resurrected, and Psychonauts 2. All look really good, look solid, no complaints. The gameplay for all of those looks fantastic, exactly what you'd expect. Battlefield 2042. I have mixed feelings about this game. As someone who used to pre-order Battlefield, like I got my Xbox One with Battlefield 4. That was the one game I wanted on launch because it had 64-player battles like I always used to play in the older Battlefields on PC. But I don't know, man. Battlefield 2142, which came out after Battlefield 2 on the PC, is probably one of my favorite ones next to Hardline in the entire series. I still think Hardline got a bad rap, but that's a rant for another day. I'd expected more like futuristic type battle in this game. Like I missed the mechs from 2142, but I guess this isn't as far in the future, but you know, like the weather effects kind of look cool. I don't know. I just expected more. But I do think after seeing gameplay for this and what they showed, I think it's on a much better track than Battlefield 1 was, and even Battlefield 5 was. Not many people like Battlefield 5 at all. That seemed like a really big misstep in the series. So I think from what I'm seeing, it looks pretty cool, and I think this is the shot in the arm the Battlefield series really, really needs right now. So good on them. Hopefully a lot of people warm up to it well, and Battlefield returns to some of the glory it used to have. Yakuza Like a Dragon and Hades are coming to Game Pass. They're basically no-brainers. I bought Hades on Switch earlier this year, and I probably should have waited because Xbox is my primary platform, but really, like, I can't, you know, Hades is so good from what I've seen of it and the little bit of I've played of it that I don't mind having 2 copies of it. So I'll have an Xbox copy and I'll have a portable copy. There you go. The re-reveal of Halo Infinite, which is going to be one of the biggest talking points about this conference. It looks a lot better than what they showed last year. That's for sure. They really went back to the drawing board on it because it's Microsoft and it's Halo. Like, what else are you going to do? Yeah, looks good. Looks like a Halo game. Doesn't look something like too out of the ordinary, which is, I guess, is going to... You know, I don't know, man. I don't envy people who work on a Halo game because it feels like no matter what you're going to do, you're going to piss off the fans, you're going to piss off the veterans, and it's hard to bring in new people to it. But they did a cool thing where I guess they're kind of separating the campaign and the multiplayer. The multiplayer is going to be free, even though the campaign's going to be on Game Pass. I don't really know how that's going to work, but... You know, it's a decent effort to bring new people in and try to please the veterans alike, which Halo, I mean, I don't know. I've never been the hugest Halo fan, but it's like, what else can you do with it at this point? I mean, it's kind of run its course. It's kind of long in the tooth. You know, I'd like to see 343 make a whole new shooter or a whole new game or start a whole new series. I mean... I know I certainly didn't think Halo was going to last this long, but apparently there's still people playing it, and I'm wrong. So whatever. Looks good. Hopefully it holds up when it comes out, and it's not the colossal mess that the Master Chief Collection was when it first came out. That was a disaster, but they've been doing a lot of good post support for that game. Atomic Heart and Replaced both look interesting. I don't know how to say this. Ayuden Chronicle looks really cool. Has like an Octopath Traveler look to it, and it's cool that they're getting more like games with a Japanese aesthetic onto the platform, because I think it really needs it. That's super cool. It's also super cool that Octopath Traveler came to Game Pass earlier this year too. Didn't expect that. I've had that on Switch for a while, but it's cool that it's getting a wider audience because it's pretty good. Age of Empires 4 looks amazing and motivates me to build a new gaming PC, which I want to do eventually anyway, sooner rather than later. Age of Empires 2 is probably my favorite computer game of all time, so I'm absolutely have to play Age of Empires 4 at this point. I played 3. It wasn't bad. I remember I got the collector's edition when 3 came out, and it was really good. It wasn't as good as 2, but it was better than 1, so I'm a huge Age of Empires fan. Forza Horizon 5 came out, not that anyone was really surprised about it. Arcane's Redfall. This kind of like all of a sudden we're glad that Turtle Rock Studios came back and is making like Left 4 Dead without calling it Left 4 Dead, because I guess Valve owns the trademark on it. Now all of a sudden, like, you have Arcane Studios, right? Microsoft has Arcane, and Arcane is going to close out the conference with their big super secret project they're doing, and it's basically Left 4 Dead with vampires. Yeah, do you guys hear that? You guys hear crickets? You guys hear? Yeah, that's pretty much that's pretty much all it did for me. Yeah, kind of a letdown. Yeah, but it could be good. We'll see. You can't really judge a game until it comes out and see how the mechanics of the game unfold and see how it's supported and see how people take it. It could be really wrong about it, but Back 4 Blood I thought looked a lot more exciting than what they showed with Redfall, but we'll see. And that's basically Microsoft and Bethesda. Nothing too crazy. Solid conference. Only a couple more things I want to talk about on here. Square Enix had their conference. Man, Square Enix, they're really going to milk that Marvel license for all it's worth, huh? Guardians of the Galaxy came on, and I was immediately ready to hate it, but I saw like the quality that went into it, and since it looked a little more interesting than the Avengers, and it's more of a single-player based game, I kind of warmed up to it a little more than I thought I would. Warmed up to it to the point where it's like, well, I would kind of sort of get this on sale, which I haven't really watched a lot of the Marvel movies, and I'm not a huge comic book fan, so it's like, But I do like a good old comic book game once in a while. Like there's a bunch of the Batman games I like. The original Batman going back all the way to the NES, based on the Michael Keaton movies, probably my favorite Batman game. But the Arkham games are no slouches either. But yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy looks pretty cool. I might get it if it goes on sale. Babylon's Fall from Platinum Games looks kind of neat, but they want to turn that into kind of a live service game as well, so I don't know what's going to go on with that. Legend of Mana getting a re-release this month is nice. Had it on PlayStation. I hardly ever played it, so maybe I just have to go back to it and take a second look at it. But hopefully it comes to Xbox soon, since Square Enix has really left a good-sized footprint on Xbox. Stranger of Paradise could be neat too. That game based on I guess it had it's like a Final Fantasy origin game, so I don't know where that's going to be in the timeline or whatever, but it looks all right. Decent looking action game. And then last but certainly not least, the one more thing I want to make a comment on here as far as E3 goes is the Nintendo Direct. Boy, this started off slow, but man, they definitely landed some blows in the middle rounds there, and eventually won by decision. If you're gonna Not that there was a lot of competition, but, Nintendo definitely pulled some surprises out of their sleeve. First thing I saw that caught my eye was Worms Rumble. Looked pretty cool, but I went back and watched a trailer, and the biggest thing anyone's gonna battle in this motherfucking game is the frame rate. Wow. I was hoping when I saw this on the Twitch presentation, because I was watching a Giant Bomb basically talking over these conferences, so I can get through the slow parts without falling asleep and feel like I'm going into a melatonin-induced coma. But I was hoping I would go back and watch footage of this game and see, like, maybe it was just the Twitch stream being laggy. No, you go back and watch the actual trailer to this on YouTube, and it looks rough. It looks wow fucking rough. Man, it's crazy that they would release a game like this. I hope it doesn't run like that when it comes out, but I think it's going to come out, like, very, very soon. So I hope they got a day one patch for this motherfucker primed and ready to go. But it looks rough. I mean, if the frame rate is like that, it's going to turn off people pretty quick. Because, having a 32 player, I think it's 32 players, is it? Like a Worms type brawl type game. Frame rate's going to be pretty important if you want to move around where you want to and shoot people when you want to shoot them. And by people, I mean Worms. Yeah. Speaking of battles, though, clearly the star of the show, that took me by surprise and took a lot of other people by surprise, was Metroid motherfucking Dread. How cool is this? Easily, probably the game of the show for me, besides Demon Throttle. Yeah, I haven't been keeping up a lot with Metroid, and I know there's been some 2D games released on Nintendo's portable consoles, like Metroid Fusion and Metroid Zero Mission came out way back on the Game Boy Advance, and then there was some on the I think there was a game on the DS or the 3DS. But man, seeing Samus move around in a proper 2D environment again looks really, really cool. Yeah, I can't wait to get this on release day. Probably not going to get the $90 collector's edition with the trading cards and the art book and the steel book. Well, not that I could really get it anyway, because scalpers are already throwing pre-orders on eBay for over $200, which, I'll get to them in probably my next video here. But, I'm not that big of a Metroid fan. But, if I'm going to Walmart for some bread, eggs, and milk and swing by the electronics section and I see it drop down to $50, which is what Walmart does to a lot of their new releases, which is pretty cool. That's how I got a couple of Switch games. I'll grab it. Most likely going to grab Mario Golf next week, too. So, yeah, the Switch has been killing it. And, they even announced more stuff after that. The new WarioWare looks great. Mario Party Superstars, they're already making a new Mario Party. They're re-releasing the first two Advance Wars games. Super Monkey Ball is getting a remastered set. Fatal Frame, Maiden of Dark Water. This was actually made for the Wii U, but it's never gotten an official Western release until now. So it's really cool that, a game like that from a cult classic series got an quote-unquote official release here in the States. That's really cool. They even threw a bit of a curveball out here. Cruisin' Blast. Wow, I didn't expect Cruisin'. That's a name I haven't heard in a while. And every time I think of Cruisin', I think about how terrible the Cruisin' USA port was for the N64. I paid $60 goddamn for that back in the day, and it was one of the worst purchases I ever made. But hey, you live and you learn, right? But Cruisin' Blast looks pretty good, actually. I want to see a little bit more of that. Not as exciting as the other games I just mentioned, but hey, it's a nice cherry on the sundae Nintendo served up, so good for them, yeah. Not that Nintendo had a lot of competition. Sony was absent. Microsoft was a bit predictable. Square hardly had anything to show. Ubisoft only had 1 or 2 games worth of shit. Yeah, but between them and Devolver Digital, though, those were definitely my personal highlights of E3, and that's pretty much it. That's all that caught my eye. I'm not sure if I missed anything else, but, you know, that's just what was interesting to me, so I just wanted to get on here and, you know, put my thoughts down, because I you know, completely missed the window last year. I know there was some, like, videos done from home, but nothing really grabbed my attention last year too much. So I didn't feel like it was worth making a video on, but, you know, I did watch the coverage this year, and some things definitely caught my eye, and, you know, pretty, I don't know what else to say. They look pretty interesting, and we'll see what happens when these games come out. So, hope you enjoyed my rambling here. I might do another video here, so stay tuned for that. And stay safe, stay happy, and be good to each other. See you guys.